Hi guys, Chess Learning for Life here, back with another video. This is game 3 of the Women's World Chess Championship 2025. With the two players Zhu Wenjun and Tan Zhongyi. So today we'll start off with an E-pawn and another Sicilian. And this time it's just a same replicate from game 3. But now Zhu decides to go for c4, like actually just fully counteracting this d5 plan. Therefore, Tan needs to play with this outpost on d4 and this hole on d3 probably. But Zhu already strikes. Takes, check. Here you can block the bishop, and it is the best move because it works tactically like this. And this might be the better move because better than knight c3, because in the future the bishop might take the knight and damage the pawn structure. Here knight ge7 is one of the ideas that I talked in game 1, is to reroute this knight here and maybe look for a e5 and knight f4 outpost and things like that instead of the typical knight f6. So c4 and e4 doesn't stop d5 right here, and this forces a lot of trades. Here you won't take with the knight, because if you take with the knight, there's d takes e5, and yeah, you're just giving white the pawn. So b takes, castle, take. And here, this is a very educational moment. Why you don't want to take the knight is when you're playing with an isolated queen's pawn, you want to keep more pieces on the board, because the IQP is a weakness if you go into the endgame where pieces are traded. But it is an asset because in the middle game, because it controls the center and it allows for black to have a more aggressive position and an attack to the white king. So here you can already see that white is putting pressure on this IQP, and therefore this just forces black to take the knight, relieve the pressure, and leave this weakness right here, which she already immediately attacks it and forces some dynamic balance right here, some imbalance taking part, and a5 is a move I don't really like. Here I would prefer taking the initiative with knight f5, allowing takes, and then your rook can get onto this open file and really just put pressure right here. But a5 is still fine, and right here still gets to play knight f5, just a very strong knight here, controlling a lot of squares in the middle, right? Kicks the rook back and goes for this setup with two open files and these two bishops, looking for squares to go to. Now you can see black is doing a very good job limiting these two bishops' power and fighting with his two active pieces. Here black offers a queen trade, which maybe is just going for a draw, but this just hangs upon an a5. But you get compensation with the rook on a8. Now you don't want to trade here and give him two connected passers, but I mean you can technically do this, but then you're leaving white with an outside pass pawn, which sometimes may prove the difference in the endgames, and these bishop pairs is just very strong to kind of escalate the pawn. So therefore you take on a2 and let white take, because then this is not a pass pawn, right? See here, avoiding the queen, avoiding taking the queen, and here just very good on taking the open file. You see white is struggling to get his pieces into play, right? Again, trying to get a queen trade. And now, yeah, if you analyze this position, it's the same color bishop. This pawn may have a chance to become an outside pass pawn if a trade occurs on the b4 square, but still this position is just equal, except for the fact that this pawn is on a light square, which is a potential target for white, and this blocks the light square bishop of black. But things are still equal. A bit of shuffling here. And then white manages to, after all this shuffle, win this IQP. See? I told you that the IQP was a weakness after the pieces are traded off. And although there's still a queen, but it's difficult. Like, you see the power of these two bishops just chasing this rook away into a passive square. But credit to Tan, she still finds a brilliancy right here. So basically this is just a tactical sacrifice to trade off material and try to damage the pawn structure of white. And here you still need to guard this pawn on g2. h4, good find. Now queens are traded off because this is still an outside pass pawn. And oops, my bad. Right here. So Tan, with skill, trades off into a opposite color bishop with one pass pawn. So the idea to make a draw for this is to create a light square blockade, like actually controlling the c6 square, and just not allowing the pawn to push. Get your king right somewhere like here, and just these pawns stay solid, let white push into you, and trade off all these pawns. And oops, and just trade off all the pawns, and it would be a draw because of opposite color bishop. Now, like, you can already see Tan just controlling this c4 square already, like blockading it like this, and activates her king, which is never a problem, never a mistake. And see, that's what I said, like fixing this pawn structure. This is very solid. Like, let white push into you, and yeah, you'll be fine trading off like this. So here's some inaccuracies. You want to place your bishop on d5, so you can control this king. Like, it could go nowhere, because if you go to f4, your g2 pawn hangs, right? But this is still all fine. A lot of shuffling. And here targeting this pawn on f2. But the thing is, you have to keep an eye on this pawn right here, and a really good idea is just to trade the rooks off. Like, if the rooks are traded, it's more of a drawn position because of opposite color bishop. And then just king c6. Again, I'm talking about the light square blockade. But here, there's still no large mistake, but yeah, this is the mistake. And the thing is, you don't want to allow an infiltration, right? So if the king goes to f6, it's already very dangerous. You want to plant this rook here. So after king g5, there will be rook e4. Again, what I'm talking about is trading off the rooks. So your king can be the blockade, and your bishop just defends this whole pawn chain, and there will be no counterplay. And here, just even just checking the king away. If you go g7, I come back, and this is more of a draw. But here, just allows the infiltration without compensation. And here, white can even avoid the rook trade, right? Maybe Tan overlooked something, but the check and dropping the rook back. And now this bishop is very good, controlling both sides. And you see a rook infiltration. And the king comes to g7. Maybe walks this way to protect the pawn. And this rook move was unnecessary. You could just check the king away and then go into g7. But it's just repeating, always repeat. And because of the psychological factor, I don't really want to explain much, and maybe it's also about the time, and just always repeat when you're winning, but never repeat 3 times because it will make a draw. Here you can see the pawn could already run, right? And then like something like bishop b6. But so therefore, like, this pawn advancement really pressures black, and now the light square blockade is already on c8 before it was on c4. Now you need a blockade on c8, right? Take. And now, although it looks like you could have push this, but maybe somehow you could still make an passer right here because of the pressure. And here white rotates the rook to a8, and here you could see white trying to use the king to promote, but here, oh, this doesn't work because of h4 and force of trade. And you still need to be precise right here. And here black tries to trap the rook, but there's another passer right here. So how do you defend against two passers? Because you can't even take here because your bishop moved away. A brilliancy, but it's just very easy to find. Take and h7, and yeah, Jun very nicely gets the game back and ties it on 1.5. Here a very good display of the advantage of the bishop pair and really playing with her isolated her outside passed pawn, and a very skillful win with opposite colored bishop. And yeah, that's it. Stay tuned for game 4. Like and subscribe for more chess content, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.